American women use some type of birth control. Tonight you will see why birth control should be sold over the counter. So 10 million women use some type of birth control. Tonight you will see why birth control should be sold over the counter. First, I'd like to give an overview into birth control and the different kinds of it and the difference between men and women's access to safe sex. So, FDA first introduced birth control about 60 years ago, therefore it's still a newer medicine and there's still ways to make it more accessible and easier for women to get a hold of. There are 20 different types of birth control, ranging from the pill to the shot to injections. However, according to the Guttmacher Institute, the pill is at number 1 with 957,000 women taking it. Therefore, clearly it is the most common one, therefore we should make the pill the easiest one to get access to. And the difference between men and women's access to get safe sex. Men can get condoms from anywhere and everywhere you go. You can literally go to a gas station at 2 in the morning and get condoms. Meanwhile, women still can't get access to any birth control. Of course, they can get the Plan B, however, that's a little different than birth control, and birth control should be accessible the same way condoms are. Like birth control, condoms are not always 100% effective. Therefore, women and men engaging in sexual activity should both have the access to get any type of safe sex things they are needing. So why is it hard for young women and adults to get birth control? Well, first, the main reason is the doctor visits. You have to have a doctor visit to get onto birth control right now in the state of Tennessee. According to det.org, an average doctor's visit with insurance costs about $69, and without insurance it costs $300. Therefore, if you cannot afford to see a doctor, how are you going to get access to birth control even if you need it? According to the United States Census, said that in 2017, 28 million people didn't have access to health care. Imagine being a mom and you're not even having access to get on health care. How can you have a baby if you can't afford to even see a doctor to get on birth control? I think that's a little unfair. I think women should have the right to get on birth control to increase the likelihood of not getting pregnant. So how can one protect themselves if they can't even see a doctor? And then, the second reason, as a young woman, change is already scary enough, and the fact that some teens have to bring up birth control to their parents makes some very uncomfortable. As a young woman, change is already hard enough. The simple idea of bringing up birth control to the parents is terrifying to some, and I know what you might be thinking. Well, why? And I know what you're thinking. You don't have to be 18 to get on birth control, so anyone who can drive themselves to the doctor can pretty much get on birth control without letting their parents know. However, most 12 to 17-year-olds do not have the access or funds to get to the doctor by themselves. And another thing is, on your insurance, if you do use insurance, your parents can see when and what you're going for. So if you're trying to hide the use of birth control, it's still going to be impractical until you do turn 18 or until you have your own health insurance. This for me was very common because I lived at home with a single dad, so I didn't feel comfortable talking about birth control with him. I waited till I was 18 to get on birth control till I could pay it off fully by myself with no insurance, which sucked, but it's what most young teens feel like they have to do. So, what is my solution? Birth control should be sold over the counter. Allowing birth control to be sold over the counter would give access to millions of Americans who cannot afford health care. Brown from Colorado Sun writes, there was a 10% drop in the abortion rate for Colorado from 2014 to 2017. That is 12.1 abortions per 1,000 women in 2014 compared with 10.9 abortions per 1,000 women in 2017. The fact that over-the-counter birth control could lower the nationwide abortion rate should be enough to convince you. Clearly this is not a topic about whether I believe abortion should be illegal or not. But with that being said, if the day does come when they should become illegal, women should have every right to have every access to practice safe sex. So another thing is, it will lower the rates of unplanned pregnancies. Obviously, it's not 100% certain that if you're on birth control, you're not going to get pregnant. However, it hugely increases your likelihood of not getting pregnant. Mistakes happen even with condoms and birth control. However, why should we as Americans deny a woman a right to feel secure in her own body while engaging in sexual activities? So now you see why birth control is important and why it should be sold over the counter. And to end, I would like to give 2 quotes from 2 senators. The first one is Senator Cory Gardner. He said, "Since it makes so much sense, you might wonder why this change has not happened yet. It's because too many people in Washington would rather play politics with conception instead of actually making life easier for women." And I think this is super important. I think we as Americans are focused so much on the black and white of certain topics, but we really just need to be thinking about how to make the world a better place for everyone, how to give equal rights to everybody. Secondly, Senate Presley said, "Bodily autonomy is a basic human right. At a time when reproductive rights are under attack, it is more critical than ever that we take a bold step to reaffirm reproductive rights for all Americans." And I think this is hugely important. I think the day that abortions do come illegal, if they never do come illegal, that'd be great too. But women should have all the access to safe sex. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you. Okay.